Every time I tried to do it, the video would disappear, like it would stop recording, and then before I could even touch a button or do anything, it was gone. So whatever. So I just did little clips. I'm doing that. Oh man, 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 man. You turn around and you see, I don't know, maybe the world was always crazy, but how much more crazy the world is and what that crazy looks like. Because it is where everything seems to, people are just freaking out over a lot of things. And this is where the energy is, that you can't be freaking out over things. You got to really try and keeping your composure and what is happening. And here are people, it's all over TikTok and everything else, and talking about, oh, next week we're going to be in lockdowns. And they're going to be doing this. And I'm just like, okay, that's fear mongering for one. It's not going to happen. I go by the astrology. Okay. So I don't see it happening in the astrology. I see more of a crisis when it comes to our financial situation. That's where I see the issues that are happening. That's where I feel if there is a lockdown, it'll have to do with financials or banks. And things going on with the financials. That's where the main thing is, right? That's where you're going to see, especially with Uranus going retrograde on Monday, like it stopped today, and then it'll be going retrograde on Monday, and it's going to be a lot of unpredictability that is going to start to swirl around right now, and it's going to be feeling very unstable within the world. And unstable with things around you. So it's really that we have to really continue to pivot to work around each adjustments and continue our adjustments within our lives. And that's going to be a very important piece in order for us to find the peace, inner peace within us, that so we're not freaking out over shit, and we're not freaking out over everything that's going on within the world around us. And this is where that we are using a lot of our reserves within our own selves and of our spiritual and emotional energies and our resources. And this is where that we have to look at more positive ways in how to attract things, how to do things, how to bring in the harmony around us. And what does that look like? What does that feel like? Instead, I'm sorry, my battery's dying on my cell phone. So, and this is very important for us to begin to look at and begin to see how we are able to adjust in different ways. And many times we're looking to adjust and then we're wanting a reward right away, but there is no reward right away. The reward is where the reward is in the pivoting, in the adjusting, where we are feeling that, I guess because we're so used to having self-gratification all the time that we want to be oh, that's a good job. That's a good job. Good job. Good job. Okay, keep going. And it's within our own commitment of having compassion for ourselves and compassion for others. That's where we are going to be receiving. That is where we're going to be finding that positivity. It's not through the brute strength, and it's not in being militant, but that's the energies that you're going to be seeing around, is that you're going to see a lot of militant energy, a lot of wanting to push out their brute strength. And this is the way that it has to be done. It has to be done that way. If it's not done this way, then it's screw you kind of thing. And that's where people are going to get frustrated. I was just listening to Dan, and he was talking about some guy who was in Florida wanting his prescriptions. And I guess the pharmacist says, I don't have your prescriptions. I don't have it here. It must be at a different Walmart or a different store. I don't have your, he goes, well, if you don't fill it, I'm going to start a fire. And the guy proceeded to go down aisle 9 and started it on fire. And what they found out, the prescription wasn't at that Walmart. It was at a different Walmart, or I think it was a Walmart. And well, of course, when the police came, they did, and stuff, putting out the fire. They found out that the guy did have a warrant and some other things on him, but still, that's the energy. It's like, if I want it here, well, it's not here, it's at another place. So you have to pivot, and you have to adjust to go to the different place. You have to allow yourself that time, and allowing yourself that time to refocus in it all. And I sort of touched on things to do with what they're trying, or what the narrative is coming out to say, right? And what the narrative is trying to put out right now. I mean, I just got a notification that there's 7-foot aliens in Peru. Ah! Like, fuck, fine, come on in. I don't give a shit anymore. Can you do a better job? That's what that's kind of where we're at. And it's where we have to really place our positive energy into the spiritual plane, and bringing the spiritual plane into our physical plane. It's important that it can't be separate. They have to be joint right now. You have to bring in that spiritual self in within you, bring it down within you. It's great to be up here, but this is where we have to take here and bring it down, and bring it into the grounding, into the physical. Then we're going to be able to think more clearly. We're going to be able to set our intentions more clearly, right? We're going to be able to do a lot more. Here's a question to you, and it's a question that's come up a lot lately for myself. If you can live, if things really got so bad, would you still stay in Canada? That's a question that keeps coming up. Do you have a secondary plan on where else to go? And that's a huge one, especially for people who born, raised, lived in Canada, on asking these questions on, is this the place you want to stay? And that's a serious question, because it's where, as we go forward in a lot of the chaos, this is where it's starting to say, okay, is this really going to be a place where I want to be? And I know a lot of people have been thinking that. You feel Canada's safer than most. It could be. But is it that safe that we are not going to be able to see the news in a couple of months, and that we're not going to have, and that social media is going to be where we're not going to be able to have that freedom and that knowledge of information? Well, there's other places than Europe. But this is where people have to start really looking at, because they're starting to look at, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver are looking at C40. This is the mayors around the world setting up C40 cities. And if you don't know what C40 cities are, take a look. It's very interesting. That means, what they do. And right now, I know in London, they have people who are going around and taking these special types of vector cameras down. I think that's what they're called. And what they do is that, because they're trying to do zero emissions and this carbon tax and all this other bullshit, is that if you, let's say, let's just do a hypothetical, if they did it in Calgary, right? Yeah, then we turn to you for the news via your guides. Yes. I love you, Dana. So the C40 cities, they're doing it in London right now. They're doing it in Paris and many of the European cities. They're doing it throughout the United States, and they're starting to do it in Canada as well. You can actually Google this and look it up. And what it is mayors in these cities. Now, these mayors are getting kickbacks, huge kickbacks, like a lot of money to do these things. And what they are is that in Europe, right, or in London, for instance, because I know how much it's going to cost them in London, is £12.50 So for them to be able to drive in this area. So, and it's going to be affecting a lot of the boroughs or a lot of subdivisions in and around London, so that if you are going to, if you have to leave your area, this is not the 15-minute cities, that's a sort of separate thing, this is sort of leading into it, but if you have to leave that means that you have to pay a toll for every time you leave it. So let's say you worked downtown London, and so you drive, or you have to drive out of your city even just to catch the train or the subway or whatever it is to get wherever you want to go. Now, the reason why they're doing is that they're saying it's for air quality control, and wanting to have air quality control within the cities. And this is another way of keeping you in your area so you don't drive, or you don't have a combustible engine, right? So they're doing this in Montreal. They'll be doing it in Toronto. They're setting it up in Toronto and Toronto and Vancouver right now. So when they're setting it up there, that's going to be coming to other major cities like Calgary, like Edmonton, and other cities across Canada. And this is where, well, I know London has had that for more than a decade, but this is more severe than what they had it. Yes, they've had it before, but this is clamping down more so. Like, this is a daily thing. It isn't a one-time fee. This isn't a one-time fee. This is a daily thing. So every time you leave your suburb, so let's say you leave your suburb for wherever you live, and you are going to the next suburb, or you're going to the next, or you're going downtown, or you're going to the hospital, or you're going to the doctor, you have to pay £12.50 or whatever it is to go through each section. And they, with this camera, they take a picture of whatever it is. It's more in depth. All right. Because I know they've had the carbon thing in London and different areas before, but it was a one-time fee. This time it's a multiple fee. That's the difference. It's a multiple fee. So big places like Toronto. So if you're in Toronto and you live in Oakville, then going from Oakville, even to get to your train to go into downtown Toronto, or if you are having to go visit somebody on the other side, you're going to have to pay sort of a fee to go into each one. Now, this is all set up through the mayor of the city. It's not set up through anything else. And through the mayor is going through non-elective people to have this enforced and have this done. This hasn't even been voted on. It even hasn't even been where you are able to have a discussion about it in your local town hall. That's the thing. That's what's happening. And people are like, now people are uproared. People are now, realizing what's going on, and they don't want this. And so you have groups going around stealing the lights. Now, what's even crazier about this, about, the people that are doing this, like these, I'm going to call them the little Robin Hoods that are doing this. If they're caught, they get an automatic 4 years. Now let's do a flip side. If you are because crime rates are getting crazy, where if you hijack a person's car and take that car, and the police usually know who it is, or they have an idea who it is, there's no arrest. They don't get anything. They get a slap on the wrist, and they're doing that not only in Europe, but it's happening right now in the United States. But I was just speaking to somebody who lives in Canada here, who's even said it's gotten worse where they live, and where people are just stealing things or going in and taking things. And, they know that they can take up to, in this area, $600. And in taking that $600, the police, they can't even write it off on their insurance. The energies, that's where the intensity is. The energies are getting very intense, to a point, going on a flip side of things, where people are in a panic that they need to buy a house. I need to buy a house. I'll never buy a house. Oh my God, I need to buy a house. And they're freaking out, especially a lot of younger people are freaking out. I need to have a house. I need to have a house. And the thing is that where the banks are right now, the banks don't have money. The banks are running out of money. So with the banks running out of money, they're going to be doing different ways to get people into loans or get them into the houses, because they want to get your payment. But this is where the average payment for a house in Canada is under $4,000 a month. And that's not even a top of the line sort of home. This is because of the rates and everything that. So this is where, just think about if your monthly, this doesn't include your insurance, this doesn't include anything else, your utilities or anything else that comes along with it. So if you're having to pay under $4,000 for a house, for a home, then you got to look at the insurance. Now the insurance companies aren't giving the same insurance. They're starting to look at new way to not do as much coverage for your home insurance. So insurance agencies are starting to change as well on how they're doing insurance and how long they're doing insurance. The other thing too is like, what happens if the banks go from a 5-year to a 3-year and the rates, I mean, right now they say they're going to hold off. They're just not sure. Nah, they're going to raise them. They're going to raise them. I mean, the insurance rates, I mean, the interest rates are going to be going into double digits. That's what I feel. That's what I've seen for a while. But this is where you have to allow yourself to pivot, to adjust. How can I adjust this? How can I do this? Especially those who are already homeowners. How can I adjust this? How can I continue to, to do what I'm doing, but maybe I need to cut back on this. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe, so this is bringing in a lot of struggling. And this is where, the harder, it's the harder you struggle, the stronger you get, right? This is bringing in the strength because these are hard times. They're going to bring strong people. You're going to have to become more self-reliant on what you are doing and the community that you build up around you. And that's going to be so, so important, right? And who that community is. And this is where, like where the sun is in lovely Virgo, and happy birthday to all my little Virgos out there, is in Virgo, shining away this beaming light. And here we have Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, and they haven't been there since 1523. So that's 500 years. So 500 years since this energy's been there, which is around King Henry VIII. So what was happening during King Henry VIII? Well, there is a whole onslaught of bringing in a new religion, going out against the religions that were popular at the time. Wonder what that is, eh? And going against that narrative. And then you had people like who were heretics who said, no, I'm not following this anymore. I'm not doing it this way. I'm not following the church is too corrupt. Well, now today it's not so much the religions that you think. The new religions are things like the woke, the new agenda for the woke society. It is COVID. It is the science that is also one too. And it's that, it's those are the new religions. So we're going to see a lot of rebellion and a lot of force coming in from those areas. So there's going to be a kickback from those areas. And this is where, especially where Neptune is, because Neptune does bring in the propaganda, it does bring in a lot of illusions, does bring in a lot of the craziness, and you can get very lost. And Saturn can become very narcissistic in there because it doesn't have control. It can't get its grounding. It can't get its way. So its boundaries are being, where it can't have the boundaries, can't have what it wants or what it wants to do. So this is where you're going to find, people are going to be feeling like they're losing it, that they're feeling very out of control and just going into hysteria, going into a place where they are not able to think very clearly. And this is where we have to, look into our reserve tanks of our spiritual and emotional self and our resources and come into it with a more positive in how to attract and come into the power of getting the power, our inner power, to really shine our light and stay steady in along, finding that joy, finding that happiness, finding that peace within all of this. This is very important. You can't get just all hung up on things. We got to be able to enjoy the family, enjoy the, parts of our lives that we are able to step into and enjoy. So let me pull some cards as my dog is just freaking out here. Dog's always freaking out. Wonder what you'd do out on a farm. Not just Staying on a farm. But no, I have been thinking of different places. If I was able to move, where are the different places I would like to move to? You know, because the cost of living, food costs, everything that's going on. I don't think Canada's as safe as what people think can as is that safe um, in the world. I mean, they do arrest people for saying things online. We don't hear about it, but they do. Where, you know, to have a good, to live in a way that you're able to not be overstretching or overreaching your hat. You know, I think those are the things that people have to start looking at and considering. And there are a lot of people that are moving out of Canada and not wanting to stay because they're looking for a better quality of life. And that better quality of life is like, yeah, at the end of the month, it's really nice to have a couple dollars left in my bank account. It's really nice that I don't have to live from paycheck to paycheck, that I can like, oh, wow. And I don't have to overwork in order to get the paycheck. That's the other thing. How much work do you have to do in order to get the money that you get, right? And that's the other piece too. And that's, you know, for me, that's why I'm you know, trying to hustle into doing different side incomes and finding those different side incomes and what they are. So, and bringing in more of a financial gain, to bring in more of a foundation in my world. You know, places I've thought about which would be very cool to live in. Some of them are like Portugal. Other places I've thought of is Costa Rica. I don't know about Thailand because I'm just very hesitant of Thailand for whatever reason. Other people who've gone there found it beautiful and wonderful to be there. Same in Vietnam. I mean, that's you know, people have said that's very beautiful. Going to other places where I've seen, you know, it would be really cool to of course, I don't know why I keep being drawn to Paris or France, not Paris itself, but to France. It's probably because I watch too much Chateaus. But Mexico, different parts of Mexico. So there are different areas that are out there, you know, and that are just as safe as where we are, you know. I mean, the things that are coming out about the government and about our prime minister and the people that are in his caucus and what they are serving on is horrific, right? And how much money, you know, one guy, see the energy guy, I gotta find out his name again, but anyways, and he sits on the communist board in one of these countries, like with a bunch of communists, and he pays them like $2 million or plus. And this is like, okay, but you are enforcing carbon tax. You're wanting to cut, you know, put like, you know, stop drilling and stuff in Alberta, although Alberta has more oil and more resources than Saudi Arabia. So we could be as rich as Saudi Arabia, Alberta. But it's just that we are tied so much to the federal government and all their bullshit. I mean, it sounds like I want to separate, right? But it's just looking into that, and it kind of like makes you sort of think. It's just like, oh my God, you know, how many games are they playing, and how many people are suffering through this all? You know, the everyday person just trying to make a go of it. Just trying to make a go of it. Raising, you know, raising wages doesn't help any. You know, it seems like it does help, but you know, sometimes in the long run, it's like even it could, you know, with the company, and a lot of companies are really stretched right now. We're looking at, you know, with Amazon. I know some people like Amazon, don't like Amazon. I mean, it is convenient. I mean, I think we've all ordered from it. To different mobile companies that are going to be going through difficulties and laying off a lot of people. So the changes are there. The changes are happening. It just reminds me, not that I can remember living through it, but it reminds me of a lot of the changes that were starting to come through in the Industrial Revolution. And the Industrial Revolution took away a whole cottage industry of what people did in a cottage industry, right? You know, AHS is letting the unelixers die if they need a transplant. Yeah, there has been cases of that, which is shocking. Ones that I don't think it's. Here's the thing. I want more information about that. I heard about one person who died. So now I want to hear how many other cases are out there that they allowed to die. So that's my thing. I'm gotten to a point, like, show me more evidence of this. That's, even with, with things that are happening, like I know the evidence is there that they are wanting to go into the schools and to vaccinate children without parents' permission. They put that into law in a couple of the provinces, especially back east. Now, in Saskatchewan right now, they are now putting back into the hands of the parents that if a child decides to change their gender under the age of 16, the parents are now informed. And now there's a backlash on that because they're feeling, the reason why the child doesn't want to tell the parents is because they're feeling, that they're not feeling safe in that home. The thing is that the whole investigation has to go into that, and that's all on individual cases. The majority of kids under the age of 16 need to still have parental guidance, still need their mom and dad to say, yes, that's good, no, that's bad. Right? Not to have that and give it away, because when you give it away to the state, when you give it away to that means that you are losing a lot of power, and you're losing your own power as a person. That's what they did in Hitler's day. And so now because there's such a backlash from parents in Saskatchewan, now they're wanting to give it back. Same in Manitoba. Manitoba's having a little bit of a fight. New Brunswick and Nova Scotia in the Maritimes, because there's so many woke that are there, and they're following such fucking narratives out there that, it's like, oh my God, the poor child, maybe the parents don't really feel, well, maybe the parents don't, maybe there is a belief system within the family, but they have to work that out. That's where they have to work that out, right? To where, and I can't remember his name. I see his face. Oh my God. Anyways, he has to go through retraining because of how he needs to speak. Joseph Peterson. So they, things like that are coming in, and people are going to be rebelling. People are going to say, no, we're not going to take this. No, we're not going to do this. Same with the fires and getting to finding out exactly how did these fires start. My husband was talking to some guy, one of his friends and stuff. I don't know if he was in Trinidad or where the hell he was. Anyways, he says, oh, the fire in Maui was lightning. They don't get lightning in Maui. That's what I said to him. I said, they don't get lightning in Maui. So how did they start? What was the start? What was the trigger? What was that? What was going on? Why weren't these things sounded? Let's get the information. And that's the whole thing. Now, with Mercury going retrograde, especially in Virgo, you're not going to get the full information. Things are going to get muddled. The information that does come out is going to be somewhat covered up. But as Mars goes into Libra is going, Mars is going to push through because he is the god of war. He's going to push through to find out facts. Give me the facts. I don't care. You're not, what is uncovered here? So a lot of facts are going to come out, but a lot of things people are not wanting to know about. Same with when they brought out the facts about the elixir. People got mad. People got mad at me because I'm telling them the truth. And when the truth more came out, it's like, holy shit. Now it's the vaxxed that they're targeting. They're not targeting the unvaxxed. They might target them, as you say, with a transplant and stuff like that. But in other cases, the other thing too is that those people can also be charged. They can also be charged with what they did. So there is where, and I know some of the bit of that case, they are being charged. The doctors and the nurses and that were handling that are losing their license. So, there is justice in some kind of way, right? And as my dad said, everybody's here is put down here for a purpose. And sometimes we don't understand exactly what that purpose is. And sometimes it seems like things that happen to them seem so horrific, so horrible, so terrible. But that horrible, terrible thing that happened to them is an awakening to awaken millions of others. And that's what they signed up to do in this lifetime. And many times it's hard for us to understand it or justify it, right? It's like even looking at the poor boy who was like in Australia visiting his grandparents, right? Stayed overnight at grandpa and grandma's, went to bed, everything was fine, didn't wake up in the morning. And in Australia, you had to have at least 3 shots, even for the kids to go back to school. So now they're finding that everything that's coming out, you know, a lot of the of deaths and stuff like that are going to start hitting the younger people, the ones that were forced, right? So this is where so much is being unveiled and so much is being uncovered that people have to really come back into their grounding and not come back into their brutality and not come back into the militant, but coming back into an understanding and how can we come back together and heal with everything that is happening so we can join together in more peace and more harmony. That's where the core of all of this energy comes in. How can you come back into the peace without judgment? Right. And because there has so much corruption and because there is so much fear and disrespect, it's going to take a lot of dismantling and it's going to take a lot of crazy fucking chaos in order to get it. It's not going to come together with a campfire and doing kumbaya and you know, fancy little unicorns and rainbows and all of that. It's going to come back through people doing the justice, going through the paperwork, going through things, pulling the evidence out, being the people, you know, there's people that are on the front line that are asking the questions. This is going to be so, so important. This is where things are going to change because they're going to be the dog with a bone that's not going to let go. And they're going to be the ones that are going to bring it out. It's not all of us. It's not all of us, but it is a few of us. And it is within those few that make that change. Because not every one of us are ready or prepared, or that's not what their role is. That's not what they signed up for. Their role is something different. And honoring that role that was signed up. And it's sometimes a very difficult one in what we sign up for. The Knight of Ariels comes in. So this is steadfast. This is Ariel. This is earth. This is trustworthy understanding. This is where you are the one. You're the diligent one that says, okay, we got to be up at 9 o'clock. Be up at 9 o'clock. We're leaving at 10. We're leaving at 10. It is the one that brings in the structure in a positive way. That this and does the due diligence. This is the due diligence of the energy of what we need to do. This is what we need to create, and this is what we need to fortify. And with that comes the 10 of Raphael. It is that beautiful family. It is that loving and blessing. What is that loving and blessing family that you want to bring around you? To bring in the hope and bring in what you value, because our values are changing. When there's war, when there's strife, when there's things like that and high inflation and economy, your values change on how you want to deal with life and how you want to do things. And what are they? What do they look like? What do they feel like? Especially within your family. And the family, that could be blood or not blood. That could be whatever you bring in as your family, your core, your outer core. What is that? What are those connections with it all? And as we got it, there's going to be conflict. 2 of Swords. Conflict. As we are trying to better and try to make the decisions, sometimes there is some kind of conflict because not everybody's going to like it. Not everybody's going to agree. And that is okay. But it's where, you know, where somebody gets so angry because you don't agree with them. So I don't agree with you. I don't agree with a lot of things that people say. I don't. You know, that's just it. You know, and it's understanding, you know, it's understanding certain laws and rules and things or laws that are in place. How can those laws be changed? Well, they are being changed. You've got people in power, people that aren't even voted for are changing laws, are bringing in things about the carbon tax, and then forcing our parliament to enforce these bullshit laws because they're getting a hefty handout in their back pocket. And that's what we got to look at. Okay, how can we, you know, and that's that's where the change in the work has to come in, but it's going to take some time for all of us to do it. And the next couple of months is going to be justice comes in. Justice. This is where it's going to be a fight for justice, a fight for equality. We are going to have to fight a lot for things that we are wanting to stand for and be firm. And everybody, most people who follow me know where I stand in a lot of issues. But this is where you can't give up. You can't give up. You got to put those things, you got to adjust. You got to look at where you need to make those adjustments. And sometimes in making the adjustments, you're not going to get the quick rewards that you are looking for. That's the thing. You're not going to get the quick rewards. You're not going to get the handout. But that's where you have to go inside. That's where you have to trust in your divine, trust in God. That this is where I need to go. This is what I need to do. And yeah, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be a lot of conflict. We're going to see it. We're going to see a lot more closing down, a lot more places closing down because can't afford it. Can't afford it. I feel, if people are doing markets, don't overprice yourself. Because people won't have the money to pay for what it is that you are wanting to sell. So you got to watch in how you're pricing things. And that's the other thing too. So anyways, I want you all to have a great day. Have a fabulous weekend. The full moon is next Wednesday. So if you are wanting your full moon reading, definitely get a hold of me. It's $35. And I will send you, it'll be coming out on Sunday and Monday for the full moon readings. So sending you guys out so much love. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you and all that you say and all that you be and all that you do. Shine your light. Be that glorious light that you are. And shine brightly, baby. And get educated. Get the knowledge. Urana is going into Virgo too. She wants knowledge. So acquire as much knowledge as you can right now on situations that you need to know about. All right. So have a blessed one. Have a great one. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Blessed.